Amazing entrepreneur, are you craving that human-to-human connection, learning from industry leaders and really entertaining speakers, and an opportunity to step away from your business so you can get clear on what's important, what's aligned, and what is going to get you closer to your goals? Well, then you need to make sure you've got your ticket to the Heart-Centered Business Conference in Noosa in Queensland in September this year. We've only got a couple dozen tickets remaining, and I wouldn't want you to miss out on this amazing, life-changing, up-leveling experience. It's hard to describe the Heart-Centered Business Conference experience. My best estimation is that it feels like being on school camp, but everyone is amazingly friendly, there's no cliques, and we don't fight over stinky boys. Instead, we focus on supporting and uplifting each other, connecting with other people who are on the same journey as we are, and learning from those who have gone before us. This conference is spectacularly curated. The menus are brilliant. The venue is lush. It's right on the steps of the Noosa National Park, and it is something to be experienced, to be believed. Come and join us at the Heart-Centered Business Conference. Don't miss out on your ticket. Go to tashcorbin.com/conference today. Have you tried to use affirmations as part of your mindset work in your business, but you really struggle when you don't feel like they're true? If that's something that's come up for you, you're going to love this episode of the Heart-Centered Business Podcast. This is episode number 530, which means you can find all the relevant links and the show notes for today's episode over at tashcorbin.com/530. So if you don't believe your affirmations and the fact that they're not true means it's not working for you, that is what we are going to address today. I'm going to share with you my experiences using affirmations and some of the strategies I use to ensure that they are helping me to have a more aligned mindset with my goals rather than just creating an argument inside my brain. Let's do it. Hello, I'm Tash Corbin, a business strategist and mentor based on the Sunshine Coast in Australia. The mission of this podcast is to help heart-centered entrepreneurs to make more money, and in doing so, change the world for the better. This podcast was recorded on the lands of the Gubbi Gubbi and Jinnaburra people. Always was, always will be Aboriginal land. I've definitely struggled with affirmations myself, especially when I feel like what I'm trying to affirm is far too distant from my current reality, or it just feels like a lie, even though it's something I really want to feel and I really want it to be true. So a really basic example of this was when I first started my business and I had said to a mindset coach, I just feel like I'm not organized enough to be a business owner. And so she got me to say out loud, like, I am so organized. I am such an organized person. I am so organized and my business runs like clockwork. And we just came up with a bunch of different affirmations to try and find one that fit. But my brain just kept going, no, you're not. Every time I said it to myself, every time I did it in the mirror, my brain would just argue with me. And there have certainly been affirmations throughout the years, I've been doing this since 2013 now, where I just knew that it felt like all it did was create an argument rather than creating that neural pathway. Now, the case for affirmations is that if you tell yourself something over and over again, your brain you're creating a neural pathway where your brain starts to actually think that way. And so I have definitely used affirmations consistently since well before starting my business, but I have found that there are times where some are trickier than others. So I'm not saying that I don't like affirmations at all, but I do know that if I just angrily stare at the mirror and say an affirmation that I don't believe, there's a chance that all it's doing is creating a little bit of dissonance for my brain rather than aligning and creating that sense of movement towards that being my reality. Here's the part that I celebrate. If I find an affirmation that I would like to feel deeply and to be true and to feel aligned, that is so far away, it creates an argument. I celebrate finding that particular gap because it's often the affirmations I struggle with the most that are the uncoverers of the mindset blocks, barriers, self-sabotage that is most urgent for me to address. If you think about it that way, finding affirmations that feel hard for you to say, that feel like they create an argument inside your brain, is actually a really powerful discovery. So if you've discovered an affirmation that doesn't feel true, that might create an argument for you within your brain when you have a little conversation with yourself about it, number one, it's cause for celebration, and it doesn't mean that you can't get to that place of alignment. It just means we might need to work on it a little bit more thoroughly, or we might have to take a step-by-step approach to get there rather than just saying the thing over and over again. So a couple of examples for you where I've used affirmations. I've used affirmations when I was working in corporate and I wanted to be a morning person. And so I started saying to everyone, I am such a morning person. I love the mornings. I'm such an early bird. And I was getting up earlier. So you can see there's the internal, external alignment. I'm saying the affirmation. I'm saying I'm a morning person. And then I'm collecting evidence that I am a morning person because I was getting up at 6 a.m. and walking to work. I was going to bed earlier and getting up earlier. And so I was using affirmations to actually create that belief in myself that I was a morning person. Now, most of you who know me will know that's actually not true. And part of the reason why I wanted to be a morning person was that I saw people who said they were morning people were far more rewarded, and they were almost like lauded as these far more efficient, productive, effective people. It's like there's a moral connection between being a morning person and being a good person, being an effective person, being a productive person. And so I was very jealous of people who were just naturally morning people. So I thought I could affirm my way towards being a morning person. Now, once I stopped working in corporate and I started understanding my own cycle, my own way of operating, my own natural rhythms, I recognized that it was quite toxic to try and force myself into being a morning person, so I stopped trying to affirm that. But for a while, that was something that I did. I would say to every person, I am such a morning person. And I was literally just trying to create some momentum for being a morning person. And ultimately, could I have kept that up? Yes, I probably could have. But do I want to keep it up? No. Is it in my best interest to keep it up? No. Now I say I care not to see a sunrise for the rest of my life. Ironically, in the summer months here in Queensland, I actually do get up at 5:30 to walk the dogs. But it's not because I'm a morning person. It's because I can't stand the thought of their little paws being on hot concrete and cement and roads. So it's to look after and nurture my dogs. But I'm certainly not a morning person. And if you know me, you already know that about me. But that is a time where I've used an affirmation like that. One of the things that I didn't know at the time was that actually, if I had taken the longer pathway and the more thorough pathway to trying to make that my reality, I probably would have uncovered a lot more of the reasons why that didn't feel true for me. And maybe I would have made a different choice. But who knows? That was 2011, Tash. That's a long time ago. There have been times, though, that I've used affirmations in my business as a business owner, and I've been very successful. So one of those was when I first started my business, I had this belief that you have to be really organized to be a business owner. And so I decided I would start affirming, I am such an organized person. I am so organized. Now, over time, I have allowed myself to explore the argument back that I have with myself about it. I've allowed myself to explore what does being an organized person feel like and look like and sound like, and also what does organized look like for me as a neurodivergent, very creative, often scattered and messy thinker, someone who has object permanence and needs things in front of their face. So when I say I'm an organized person, I don't argue with myself when I say that now, but I do know that part of the reason for that is because my version of organized looks very different to someone else's version of organized. So a neurotypical person who loves spreadsheets and that kind of thing is going to have a different standard of what organized looks like. But I know if my tasks are organized, if my calendar is organized, if I'm clear on what I'm doing on a day-to-day basis, I am an organized person. I feel very organized. And the more I have my team taking care of admin and planning and preparation and other things behind the scenes in my business, the less I have to subscribe to that definition of organized, and the more I can just be my version of organized. And so I can say I'm an organized person, and I'm sure if I had a lie detector test about that the statement would be true, because I am an organized person. The standard by which I measure that level of being organized is my own, and it works for me. So you can see there that over time, I haven't just got more and more effective at looking like an organized person on the outside to other people. Instead, I've defined what organization is for me, and I hold myself to that standard of being organized. So what I thought I would do is just give you some ways that you might explore an affirmation that might be one that does create an argument for you or feels too far away, or it feels like you're just lying to yourself. Ways that you can dig into that, ways that you can work towards that, ways that you can still have the mindset, alignment, and benefit without necessarily just continuing to grimace and lie to yourself. Because if that's the response it's creating for you, then it's probably not going to work anyway. So the first one, let's use an example. Maybe it's I'm an effective CEO of my business, right? So let's say that's the affirmation. And when you say it, you just don't connect with it at all. So the question that I would be asking is why not, right? So we lean towards it with curiosity to see, like, does it feel true? And if not, does it feel like it's close, or does it feel like it's really far away? And chances are, if you're just like, that's a lie, then it feels far away. And so is it something that you want to feel? Is it something that you want to feel like it's true? You want it to be true? You know it's crucial for you to create that shift. It feels like something you want. That is the first thing to understand, right? So, with my I'm a morning person, do I actually want to be a morning person? Well, no, I want to be perceived as productive and effective, and I think that being a morning person is the way to get there. So actually, I don't want to be a morning person. So is that ever going to actually be realized? Probably not. Am I able to white knuckle and mask my way through it by using that affirmation and constantly trying to collect evidence I'm a morning person? Yeah, sure. I don't know how long I could sustain it for. I lasted about 4 years in corporate before I quit my job, so who knows. But I really think that this is an important one, because if you don't feel confident saying, I'm an effective CEO of my business, but you don't actually know that you want to be a CEO of your business, like what does that even mean for you? Well, we've got to address that first. So step one is actually to ensure that this is an affirmation you actually desire. It is a statement that you desire to be true and to feel true for you. Then we need to understand why it feels too far away for you to be able to say it. So what is it about saying I'm an effective CEO of my business that feels untrue? What is it about it that feels like it makes it really far away for you? And that's a really good journaling exercise to explore some of those unconscious or subconscious beliefs about what it takes for that statement to be true. So let's say another affirmation might be, I am a 6-figure business owner, and you're not actually a 6-figure business owner yet, right? So saying I'm a 6-figure business owner, I'm a 6-figure business owner when it's not true, sure, that's one way to potentially align your thinking with that belief. But if every time you say it, your brain goes, no, I'm not, then is it doing its job? Are you building a neural pathway, or are you simply building a pathway of argument with yourself? You're building dissonance. So instead, maybe we need to explore the reasons why that doesn't feel true for you right now. So it might be, well, I haven't had a 6-figure year yet. Well, that's a very valid reason to not feel like I'm a 6-figure entrepreneur feels true to you. So is it that you need to paint a picture of a 6-figure entrepreneur that you can connect with? Or is it that you might need to change to a different way of creating that connection for now? So maybe you might affirm something about the journey. You might say, I'm becoming a 6-figure entrepreneur. I'm becoming an effective CEO of my business. Can that feel true for you? And if not, what would you need to do differently in order for it to feel true? So I'm becoming a 6-figure business owner. I'm becoming a 6-figure entrepreneur. If your brain's like, no, you're not even making 5K a month. Like, you're not even close. Alrighty, so what would you need to do to see the progression in your income? Have you got a strategy to get to 6 figures? Does your current business model align with a sustainable 6-figure income or not? And if not, what are you going to do about it? So can you see, just by noticing the affirmation that doesn't feel true, we have now uncovered not only a mindset gap, but a strategy gap as well? And you can continue to flail about with those gaps, or you can choose to do something about them. And my choice is to do something about them. So if I want it to feel true, if I want it to be true, I need to work on increasing my sense of alignment and decreasing the blocks and barriers that I'm using as evidence that it's not true. So if one of the barriers is I don't have the product suite that I need, is that true? And if that's true, what am I going to do about it? Am I taking action towards having that product suite? So sometimes I'm becoming a 6-figure CEO, or I'm on the journey to being an effective business owner, is literally just collecting evidence on a day-to-day basis that you are becoming that person. Another angle that I like to use is actually affirmations. So rather than affirmations, affirmations. So that is where you turn the affirmation into a question, because our brains are brilliant problem solvers. So for example, I don't do very well with affirmations that are income goals. Like, I'm going to have a 40K month. I find that my brain starts to look for evidence of where I is it true or not? It's more interested in solving the problem of, is that true? Is that true? Am I? I don't know. Am I? So it brings up more doubt than solidifies a belief. So instead, I use an affirmation for something like that, where I'll say, why is it so easy for me to have a 40K month? Or, how did I turn this into a 40K month? And so I'm asking a question about the why or the how. You could use this for the effective CEO one. So if when you go to say, I am an effective CEO of my business, your brain immediately starts to argue with you, it might be that you say, why am I such an effective CEO of my business? So see there's no answer that's negating the belief. It's actually just sending you off to find evidence to support and answer the question. So why am I such an effective CEO? The only possible answers can be evidence that you're an effective CEO. If there's any evidence or any examples that you're not an effective CEO, the question doesn't raise them. It doesn't uncover them compared to the affirmation of I am an effective CEO of my business. If you're immediately springing to mind or having pop-up thoughts that negate that affirmation, try formulating it as an affirmation, as a question first. Now, ultimately, these ways of uncovering the gaps, uncovering the where the argument might lie, and exploring other ways of creating the neural pathway are a temporary solution. Ultimately, we do want to get to the point where you can say that statement with confidence and without arguing with your brain. So even with the I'm an effective CEO of my business, I would still, from time to time, still say the affirmation and just see, do I still argue with myself? That was certainly something that came up for me when I was working on being more organized. I am an organized person. I'm organized. And what I noticed was the more I created systems and structures that worked for my brain instead of trying to behave like someone else, the more my brain was definitely cool with it, right? So I might not micromanage my tasks and micromanage myself on a day-to-day basis with a to-do list of 28 different things, which might to others look like an organized person, but I feel organized. And when I sit down to work towards a goal, I know exactly what to do. And that to me is the most organized, effective, and productive version of myself I could possibly be. And I know a lot of people who look very organized from the outside, but they spend more time organizing than they do actually implementing. And so when I think about I am organized, it actually, to me, is such a strong, powerful affirmation now because I have absolute clarity on what that exactly looks and feels like for me in alignment with all of the other reasons why I want to be an organized person. So I want to be organized because I want to be confident that I'm mostly doing the right things, that I'm mostly being effective with my time, that I am productive in the work that I do as a business owner, not in doing extra work, but in doing work that gets results. And so when I say I am organized, it is absolutely true. Even if my desk is a mess, I still feel organized. Even if I've got 3 juicy projects I'm playing with right now, I still am organized. Because when I sit at my desk to work, I know what to do. And that is still true even when I am having challenges behind the scenes with my personal life, or I've got a little bit overwhelmed, I've been unwell and had time away from my business, it is still very easy for me to know exactly what I need to focus on and what I need to do. Therefore, I still feel congruent with the statement, I am organised. How powerful is that? So we are creating that alignment in a far more personal and therefore far more powerful way. All right, so this has been episode number 530 of the Heart-Centered Business Podcast. In the show notes of today's episode, I'm going to share with you a couple of other podcast episodes that are mindset related, and in particular around money mindset, but also a productivity mindset, because I have done quite a few podcasts about that in the past, and they're really good refreshers. So that if you are going to play with affirmations or do a little bit of mindset stuff, you've got those extra resources to have a little explore with and potentially review and refresh what it is that you want to be doing. Thank you so much for joining me for this episode. Make sure you come and check out those show notes at tashcorbin.com/530. And until next time, I cannot wait to see you shine. Bye for now.